Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the ultimate tuition fee, a breakdown of Drona's revenge. We are setting the stage for an absolutely incredible story drawn straight from ancient texts. It's a narrative of massive ancient warfare, impossible demands, and a deep-seated rivalry that literally reshaped an entire kingdom. We're looking at a clash where martial arts, extreme ego, and pure tactical brilliance collide.
So I want you to imagine something for a second. What is the ultimate price for a world-class education? We're not talking about student loans paid in gold or silver here. Imagine a tuition fee paid in blood, in conquered lands, and in captive kings. That is exactly the wild situation the preceptor Drona presents to his heavily armed, fully trained royal pupils.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's his actual demand. Seize Drupada, the king of Panchala, in battle, and bring him unto me. That shall be the most acceptable fee. Drona gathers his students, who just so happen to be some of the most lethal princes on earth, and he doesn't ask for wealth. His demand is simple, but it's terrifying. He asks them to march into a hostile kingdom, wage a war, and bring back King Drupada of Panchala. He wants his childhood friend turned bitter rival delivered to him in chains. And his students? They simply say, so be it.
So, to bestow the staggering fee upon their master, the princes march. A massive coalition of these royal students lays siege to the Panchala capital. This includes the famous rival cousins, the Kauravas and the Pandavas. They march their chariots, their cavalry, and their infantry straight to the capital of the great King Drupada and literally lock it down. But as we're about to see, having the numbers is one thing, how you actually use them is another entirely.
Comparing the assaults, we see a stark contrast: Kaurava chaos versus Pandava precision. What unfolds next is an absolute masterclass in military tactics, primarily because we get to see two completely different approaches to the exact same objective. We have the Kauravas on one side and the Pandavas on the other. It's a perfect real-time case study of chaos versus discipline.
Let's look at the Kauravas' tactical failure first. Their assault was, well, to put it mildly, a massive disaster. They let their egos completely drive the chariot. Princes like Duryodhana and Karna vied with one another just for personal glory, completely ignoring unit cohesion. They attacked in a disorganized rush. King Drupada met them with a fierce, raining shower of arrows, and the situation got so bad that even the citizens started throwing missiles down on them from their houses. The results? The Kauravas completely broke formation and literally fled the city, wailing.
And listen to this quote. Fighting unsupported on a single chariot, the Kauravas from panic supposed that there were many Drupadas opposed to them. It brilliantly illustrates just how badly the Kauravas were outplayed. King Drupada was moving with such incredible lightness and speed on the battlefield that the panicked Kauravas actually hallucinated. They thought there were multiple Drupadas attacking them from all sides, even though he was fighting totally unsupported on a single white chariot. It was an absolute humiliation.
But then, the Pandavas take the field, and Arjuna commands a structured, surgical strike. Remember, the Pandavas are also there, watching all of this. And they take a completely different approach. It's a great reminder for all of us of what true discipline looks like under extreme pressure. Arjuna, observing the Kauravas' pride and eventual panic, specifically told his brothers to hang back. They waited outside the town, at a distance. They allowed the Kauravas to exhaust themselves and fail, and only then did they move in. Take a look at the Pandava formation. Yudhishthira is kept safely out of the fight entirely. Nakula and Sahadeva are appointed to protect the chariot wheels. Bhima takes the vanguard as the heavy hitter, and Arjuna leads the main tactical assault. Notice how this wasn't a free-for-all at all. Every single brother was given a highly specialized role. The twins were assigned the critical defensive role of protecting Arjuna's flanks. It's picture-perfect unit cohesion.
And let's talk about Bhimasena's vanguard rampage. Armed with a mace, he enters the battlefield and roared like the ocean in a tempest. He doesn't just fight, he unleashes heavy metal carnage. He specifically targeted the enemy's array of war elephants, smashing these massive animals with his mace, and casually drove hostile chariots away as easily as a herdsman driving cattle.
I mean, just listen to this description from the text. Those huge animals had their heads broken into pieces. They began to fall upon the ground like cliffs loosened by thunder. It's a terrifying, vivid picture of absolute devastation. Bhima was tearing through their front lines like the great destroyer himself, completely shattering the enemy's heavy defenses.
And while that's happening, we have Arjuna's lightning archery.
Spectators could not mark any interval between his fixing the arrows and letting them off. So while Bhima is dismantling the elephants, Arjuna is providing overwhelming covering fire with blinding speed. It was a continuous, furious storm of arrows that laid thousands low.
This brings us to how Arjuna dismantles General Satyajit. It's a rapid-fire duel. King Drupada's top general rushes Arjuna, and let's walk through how methodically Arjuna neutralizes him. Step 1. He pierces Satyajit with 10 keen shafts. Step 2. Under heavy counterfire, Arjuna actually takes a moment to rub his bowstring to increase the force and velocity of his shots. Step 3. He cuts Satyajit's bow in twain. And finally, when Satyajit grabs a new bow, Arjuna ruthlessly dismantles his entire rig, piercing the enemy horses, the flags, the charioteer, and even Satyajit's clenched fist, forcing the general to retreat.
With the general gone, we get to the capture of King Drupada. The pacing here goes into absolute overdrive. 1. Arjuna quickly cuts the king's bow and flagstaff in twain. 2. In a completely unexpected move, he throws aside his own bow and draws a scimitar. 3. He gives a massive shout and leaps directly from his own moving chariot onto Drupada's chariot. And 4. He fearlessly seizes the king of Panchala right there on the spot. The text perfectly captures the suddenness of this moment. He sees Drupada as Garuda sees a huge snake after agitating the waters of the ocean. Using the legendary mythology of the eagle seizing the serpent completely cements how swift, decisive, and final this capture really was. The Panchala troops instantly scattered. And then Arjuna commands, "Slay not his soldiers. Let us only give unto our preceptor his fee." So the crucial point here is what happens the exact second Drupada is captured. The combat stops. Arjuna immediately pivots from brutal warfare to cold restraint. He actually stops Bhima from continuing the slaughter. It highlights their absolute discipline. The mission was the king, not a massacre. Which brings us to the ultimate humiliation. Drupada is brought before Drona, defeated and stripped of his wealth. We've reached the climax of the assignment. The proud king, his capital laid waste, is marched as a captive and presented to the very man he once mocked. You can literally feel the tension. He is completely at his enemy's mercy.
And how does Drona react? He says, "We Brahmanas are ever forgiving. I ask for thy friendship again, and as a boon I give thee half the kingdom." He smiles. He reminds Drupada that his life is entirely dependent on his foe's will. And then he delivers this incredibly condescending mercy. He spares Drupada's life, but he does it in a way specifically designed to permanently crush the proud king's ego.
This is a classic case of forced equality. It's Drona's belief that only equals can be friends, requiring him to steal half a kingdom so he and Drupada are both kings. You see, years ago, Drupada had rejected Drona's friendship, claiming that only a king could be friends with a king. So Drona takes that exact twisted logic and uses it against him. By taking the entire kingdom by force and then gifting half of it back, Drona ensures that they are now both kings. He literally steals half a kingdom just to enforce a twisted sense of equality on his own terms.
Let's break down this kingdom divided. As you can see, the northern side of the Bhagirathi River is now ruled by Drona from Ahicchatra, and the southern side is ruled by King Drupada from Kampilia. This single battle carved out a brand new geopolitical reality. The mighty Panchala kingdom is sliced right down the middle by the river. The political map has been completely redrawn, all just to pay a teacher's fee. This reveals the absolute limits of military might. Drupada realizes that Kshatriya strength cannot defeat Brahmana spiritual power. For Drupada, the fallout is a bitter pill to swallow. He understands that standard Kshatriya warrior strength, the power of the ruling and military class, will never be enough to overcome the spiritual and martial mastery of a Brahmana sage like Drona. He was outplayed on every single conceivable level. So, how far will a humiliated king go for revenge? That's the burning question we're left with. Knowing conventional warfare won't work, the texts tell us Drupada begins to wander the entire earth, desperately searching for a spiritual means to obtain a son specifically destined to subjugate his victorious enemy. But hey, that is an explainer for another day. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep questioning the history laid out before you.